huge for people who know anything about movie dog training. Well, because Robert Weatherwax was the original trainer for Lassie in the movies. This book, that it's presented in a different way than, say, most dog. Okay, so what we have to talk about is the movie dog training paradigm. See, the Weatherwax paradigm is huge. We got to talk about Robert Weatherwax, a famous and very influential dog trainer, well known, of course, for training Lassie in the movies and also on the TV series. Rudd was considered a genius, and he influenced many other dog trainers and had a lot of contact with pretty much everybody in the business because he worked exclusively with Lassie for so long. And you've got to understand, nowadays you don't know about Lassie, the modern generation. Lassie was enormous. It was a huge money-making vehicle for Campbell Soup, who sponsored the television programs, and it made them hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's a low estimate by today's money. It'd probably be billions of dollars. But Robert Weatherwax introduced a different type of training method than what other movie trainers were doing at the same time, and influenced other people. There's a lot of influence that I'll talk about, but what I need to get across to you right now is that most dog books that are put out about dog training are put out by people who have done sport dog training, whether that be AKC, obedience dog training, or maybe Schutzhund training has become popular, which is now called IGP, or agility trainers. You'll find a lot of agility and trick trainers. Now these type of dogs are different because what they're doing is not so consequential and not so difficult. And one of the big things that you'll find that the author, Robert, the grandson of Rudd, talks about is the fact of being able to control the dog at long distances. Because if you're on a movie set, if you've never been on a movie set, the distractions are really high. The crew is there, the sound guys, the light guys, there's a bunch of people around, there's noise going on, offset, a lot of visual things, which the dogs are attuned to the visual motion that can easily distract them. So any dog that is performing, especially on a weekly series, it done over 500 episodes, I think is what he cataloged at one point, with the various different Lassies. They were all males, by the way. That he knows what he's doing, Rudd. So there are people who try to denigrate the methods because they think Rudd doesn't fit into our ideology as a Karen Pryor sort of person, but they don't know. They weren't there. They didn't do it, and let's see their 500 episodes. So there's a lot to learn here because the method is so different because of the mind frame and the frame of reference coming from movie training now. One of the things that I have in common with Robert is that we were both influenced by an incredible trainer named Carl Miller. Carl Miller was the protege of Frank Inn, and Frank Inn had worked for Robert Weatherwax. Frank Inn became known for training the pig on Green Acres and also Benji, several Benji movies, and he trained a lot of animals. He was known as the good guy, helped out a lot of other trainers. Carl Miller was one of his proteges. Carl Miller went on to train Babe, the pig, trained dogs for Magnum PI in the original series, trained the Dobermans. He also trained a Doberman for a TV series thing that was called The Friends of Man. That's how I first got to know him, and also for the German Shepherd on Run Joe Run, which influenced me. I was very young. In fact, I knew Carl before Robert did, but Robert worked with him. I only was mentored at long distance by Carl. So, and there were many other people at the same time who were, everybody in the movie industry knew everybody in the movie industry, obviously, as trainers. It wasn't huge, it wasn't big, and there was only so many spots available. And as for making a living, a big living, there were only a few guys that were capable of doing it. Now the Weatherwax family, of course, had trained other dogs. The brother had trained Old Yeller, and also they had trained Toto for Wizard of Oz, among other dogs. So you got to remember that everybody knew everybody. And when I started training dogs, it was done as either a hobby, you're working for the government, meaning basically the military, or you were a movie film guy, because there wasn't a gigantic pet dog industry like there became after the mid-90s. That's a whole other story, but that's what proliferates the dog training space. There aren't that many dog books written anymore. There were in the 90s, very early 2000s, but now almost everybody turns out streaming videos or DVDs. It's amazing because the people who are in the dog training space stick to their niches, and People who are retriever trainers stick to retriever trainers. People who would do protection dog training stick to the protection dog guys. So, and same with, especially with agility, and they really stick in their own little circles, and they only talk to themselves. They don't integrate other sorts of methods. So here's something that's great, because as I have said in another video, there are 3 major commands that every dog should know, the most basic ones, and they're found across all the different types of dog training. And Robert agrees with me on those 3 core commands, and you can see my video about that. I've done a video, so I'm not going to cover all of that, but I want to talk about how important it is to look at this as a wholly different type of way of training, because he, just like a tactical canine trainer, is more about pragmatic reality, real living. Sport influence trainers always have the dog on the left side, heeling on the left side. When you stop, the dog automatically sits. Why would you do that? So why is the dog only on the left? Why is the dog automatically sitting now? For movies and for tactical purposes, we want the dog standing, because the dog can change directions, the dog can move more naturally. And let me give you a clue about a movie. Here's my super dog. Let's go. He's trying to take up the picture with his back of his head. Not as fun, but yeah. Anyway, so movie dog trainers have to make the dog look natural. It's not a regimented thing. It's like you're seeing IGP now with the stargazing look and snapping into sits and downs. That doesn't look natural. That's not how dogs move on their own. So there's a big art and science to movie dog training that most people don't know. Sport dog trainers don't know it. They work at very long distances, which is what I'm saying. We have pragmatic things there. Just like with us, the tactical trainers, why do we want the dog to come sit in front of us and then go to the side? Why not have the dog go to the side that we indicate immediately? And with me, and with all tactical dogs that I train, and go left, right, or center. They're coming on back on a recall, they're going to go right there immediately. It's faster, it makes more sense, and they're ready to go. Also, they heel on left, right, or center. There's a lot of reasons for that. I can detail that in another video, but I don't want to get sidetracked on tangents, but it's pretty easy to get sidetracked on tangents. But as Robert's talking about, a pet dog and a movie dog are similar, because they don't need this contrived sort of rule set. Because you're not doing things for style points, you're doing things because they work in real life. And that's something he talks about. He also works with the dog starting to get distance, as I was saying. It's crucial. If you, as someone else has said, if you don't have a recall, you don't have a dog. So I'm giving you a key on one of the 3 major, most important core commands. I've got to reiterate that looking at this, you need to know a little bit of the history of Lassie. Like I'm saying, phenomenal. There were board games made, there were costumes made, there was, of course, dog food made. Lassie went on tours of the United States for promotional reasons, had parades, did shows, did tricks, went to hospitals, visited soldiers, visited dying children. All of this, Lassie was enormously popular, beyond anything you can realize right now. And before Lassie, there were 2 dogs that were hugely known in the movies, and that was Strongheart and Rin Tin Tin. Both of those were German Shepherds. Both of them were from Europe, and both were got at the very end of World War I and brought back. Interesting history with those trainers and with that movie influx. And then, of course, after Lassie, which encompasses, I think, 6 dogs in total, if you include Spook, that other dog things were Beethoven, the St. Bernard, for example, Benji, like I've said, and there hasn't been a continuing dog that I'm aware of that competes with Lassie. So you got to look at the training method that the Weatherwax family created. And so as a grandson, he has benefit of Rudd, the real genius, his father, Robert, who was a well-known, well-respected dog trainer, who followed up and did the last series of Lassie, the last reincarnation of Lassie, and did some other things, and of course worked for his father on the original series of Lassie. But what you got to know, again, about this is that this book represents something you haven't seen, because you haven't seen a movie dog trainer talk about how they train dogs, because they're too busy doing it and they make money. And frankly, they make more money doing it than they do anything else. They're not putting out how-to books, they're not putting out YouTube channels, they're not trying to
become well known in media because they're too busy doing the actual work, just like real tactical canine trainers. You don't know who they are, and you don't meet them, and they're not trying to get your media approval because they work for different government institutions usually, or private institutions. They don't share this knowledge very much. Now, of course, I don't want to give you details of everything he talks about. I don't want to disclose the entire book, but I will say, just as a comparison, it's different than, say, Gene Donaldson with the luring. Gene Donaldson's using luring. It's not the shaping constantly that you'll find agility trainers doing and some trick trainers doing. It's more of a pragmatic mixture of different things. Gail Fisher has labeled dog trainers into 3 giant categories, and I would say that this fits into what she would call the motivational method of dog training. But anyway, so Vic, the mountain cur, was on here, and now you see my super dog Zarathustra. You sort of see him. There's other videos, and I got to tell you, we want to grow this channel because there's a lot of things I want to discuss on this channel that you're not going to see anywhere else, because I have a background that many other people don't have. Oh, by the way, if you know somebody who has varied a background in different dogs, sled dogs, war dogs, sentry dogs, scout dogs, patrol dogs, flushing dogs, pointing dogs, and pet dogs, and many other dogs, loads, and they've done it since 1974 on 3 continents. Somebody else imagines that, please put that link down below so we can check them out, right? That'd be cool. And we need to grow it, so like, share, and subscribe. I want to do more reviews of books, and I gotta say that if you're a dog aficionado, you need this book. It gives another perspective. If you're an actual professional, you need it because it's going to widen your horizons. You need more methods than whatever you're subscribed to. And if you're just a basic dog owner and need a book that will help you with your first dog, this book can do that also. And I've got to say, I'm glad to see that Robert has written a book, because it's something we need. We need movie dog trainers to put out more information to the general public, because most people don't know about them, they don't think about them, they don't even consider them. Because of the high profile with all the sport dog trainers, they sort of propaganda, especially with the agility people now. Those are different, you know. Very few people know about a whole lot of different types of dogs, sled dog training, all sorts of things that are not known. But we need those in there because it only helps you as a trainer, as a person, to understand your dog. And remember, you got to believe in your dog, and then you can believe in yourself. Okay, so.
For me and for my mountain cur, one of my mountain curs here, Victor. What are you doing? Are you sleeping? Victor. Hey, what are you doing? You want to come over here and say hello to people on the film? You want to come here? You want to come here? Hey, hey, come here, baby. Come here. Come on, baby. This is one of my incredible dogs. This guy. You'll be seeing more video about this guy. He's incredible, incredible.
Okay, here's Zarathustra, my super dog. Right here he is in a sort of a calm mood right now. So to see more of him, subscribe and like and watch his videos. This guy is.
Why is the Weatherwax name so huge for people who know anything about movie dog training? Well, because Robert Weatherwax was the original trainer for Lassie. Now, it's important to understand that Robert Weatherwax was considered a genius movie dog trainer. So Robert Weatherwax, you got to understand that Lassie was a phenomenon. It made Campbell's Soup, when it went to TV, probably billions of dollars in today's market, but many hundreds of millions of dollars at the time. Influence are many people like Frank Inn. Frank Inn, huge name, and he was the mentor to one of the people that we have a nexus with, which is Carl Miller. Carl is now dead, but Carl Miller, when I was very young and inspired by his dogs, Run Joe Run, I used to watch the Run Joe Run and teach my dog some of the things that I saw on Run Joe Run, which Carl was very impressed with. when he talked to me about this. But the author, Robert Weatherwax, worked with Carl Miller quite a bit. Carl Miller became one of the biggest names in dog training. He also trained the pig in Babe, series of Babe, and also the St. Bernard in the Beethoven series, among other things. They're talking about 3 feet and 6 feet, as if that were anything. We're not. We're talking quarter mile, miles, and beyond as a tactical trainer at the end result. Having a dog being able to do something close to you is not impressive to us or to movie dog trainers, and they don't do that. They are further away from the dog than sport dog people are. Rudd had that dog jump into the water, a river. That dog could have died.